Oh, we're live.
Oh, we're live.
All right. Hey.
We're live.
And no warning. Okay.
Hello.
Great. Well, now that we're actually live, I will tweet the link that we're live.
Welcome to the Magic Sandwich Show.
Hi, welcome to the Magic Sandwich Show. Sorry we're late. We're having technical difficulties. So today I have my two bestest friends with me.
Stephanie, you want to go first?
Do I want to go first? Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm the Operations Director for the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science. I also have a really cool YouTube channel you should check out. That is called Think Skeptically. I will have the link in my below third bar, whatever thing is called, for some part of the show. The rest of it will be jokes and fun stuff. Back to you, Dave.
All right.
On location at American Atheists. How are you doing? How's the weather?
It's very rainy and stormy, actually. I'm Dave Moscato. I'm the Public Relations Director for American Atheists, and I'm really happy to be part of this this fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Oh, you are so uptight.
But I think it's important to talk about what this is raising money for. It's for Doctors Without Borders. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's an independent humanitarian medical aid organization committed to providing medical aid where it's most needed regardless of race, religion, politics, or gender, and also to raising awareness of the plight of the people that we help. So that's a really good cause. Hopefully we can raise quite a bit of money. So just keep that in mind as you're watching the show and having the best time of your life to maybe donate if you can. So I tweeted out on my Twitter a few questions for people, and I just wanted to see what people wanted us to talk about. Most people asked me things about atheism. A lot of questions were kind of funny, so I'm just going to kind of go through them and have my friends and I answer these questions to the best of our ability and have fun. So the first one is, why do people believe in God? You guys have any ideas?
I'll take a stab at it. Okay, so people believe in gods for all sorts of different reasons today. I think it's informative to understand how belief in gods started. Humans have a natural curiosity about how things work and why things work, and pre-scientific days things were scary and we didn't really understand what was going on. And I think it makes perfect sense. Michael Shermer has this thing that he talks about in his book, Why We Believe. He talks about agenticity, this idea that we have this evolved incentive to falsely attribute or be paranoid about this idea that there's a living thing behind something that we can't explain, rather than assuming that it's non-living. Like, for example, say you're an ancient pre-human primate, and you see some, or I mean, this could even go back much further than that. This can go back to ocean animals billions of years ago. You see something rustling, and it could be just the water moving and causing seaweed to move. It could be nothing, or it could be a predator waiting for you to come around the corner so it can eat you. So if you assume that it's nothing and it's a predator, then you're dead. If you assume that it's nothing and it's nothing, then nothing happens. If you assume that it's not so it makes sense to just be paranoid about that. Now there is a trade-off. If you're always paranoid, you're going to spend all of your caloric energy hiding and not hunting, and so there is a balance where you have to be a little bit paranoid but not too paranoid, so that you can still go out and feed and breed and all the things that you need to do to survive. But we do have an evolutionary incentive to be on the edge of assuming that it's something alive. So it makes sense then, when you have something like lightning that you can't explain, to be a little bit on the edge of assuming that it's something living that's causing this, and try to appease it if you can, because if you need rain or something for your crops, and you're dying without them, what are you going to do? Are you just going to sit there and say, well, we'll just wait a little bit longer? If you have a feeling and you're starving that there's something you can do to fix it, and you think that maybe doing a sacrifice is going to help, and then you start getting in these rituals that go like that, and so it's passed down from generation to generation. I think today people don't believe for those reasons. We have the scientific answers. That's not why people believe now. I think today, and Jack David Eller talks about this in his book, Anthropology of Religion, that the other reason that people believe and the reason that religion still exists despite the advent of science and better explanations for all these things that we never used to understand is the group cohesion part and the group bonding part of it, and the meaning of life aspect of it that you get from having those answers to questions that we may never have scientific answers to, or at least satisfactory scientific answers to. But the group bonding part really is very important to humans. Humans are very social animals, and we feel better and we operate better, and we live better lives when we're part of a group like that, when we have some kind of group identity. And that's why it's so important as atheists that we continue to have these sorts of group identities, join local atheist groups and become parts of organizations. It's not a good thing for us just to simply leave church and if we don't believe. There are alternatives that aren't full of religious bullshit, that are still important to being a happy and fulfilled person, I think.
That is the best answer in the world, and a very long one to a very short question that I think was probably a joke from someone. But no, it's good. I like that answer. But like you said, a lot of people don't do it for the same reasons anymore. They don't use the same like kill or be killed mentality. They're not waiting to see if there's something rustling in the bushes because religion is a different concept than that. But I still do hear a lot of people use Pascal's wager like it's a fair argument. Yeah, like, well, what if, then you're going to be in hell and that's going to suck, so you might as well believe in God. So to a degree, that still kind of applies a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Depends on your age, too. For teenagers, it's much more about group cohesion. I think as you get to be an adult and you want good morals for your children, it gets to be more about a social structure of providing family and rules, and then as you get to be older, I think it's more about avoiding hell, and there's some science to back that up as far as when you're sending messaging to people to get them to come to church, what types of messaging is most effective for elderly people who the end of their life is something that they're more aware of. The hell message really works for them a lot more than it does on teenagers.
This is true. Any thoughts on that, Steph?
No.
Okay, well, I can go to the next one.
The only thing that keeps me from being like a really horrible person is the threat of eternal torment forever.
That explains why you're a horrible person most of the time.
That explains a lot.
Because you're an atheist and have no morals. And
I don't even know what morals are. Like, what do you even mean by that? Because without the Bible, like, how do you even know? You know what I mean?
That's a good question. I mean, the Bible is full of amazing morals, like, infanticide.
No, like, all I'm saying is, like, okay, let me put it this way. Like, if you're a Christian, like, you can go to the Bible. If you're a Muslim, you can go to the Quran. And if you're a Jew, you can go to the Torah. But, like, atheists, like, what can they do? They can't go anywhere.
That sounds a lot like the last video I just made.
I know, and that's why I said it.
How about that?
Yeah, it was funny. You did.
Yeah, no. This guy was talking about morality, of course, and saying that atheists don't have morals, and how could they because they don't have the Bible, which is a new argument that I had never heard before from a Christian.
I'm really surprised to hear that, Jack, when I hear that one.
Seriously, like, that is so I'm so glad that we finally have an original argument.
Yeah, it was totally original.
Whatsoever, by the way. None.
No, I thought it was hilarious, too, because he's like, if two Christians disagree, they could just go to the Bible. And I'm thinking, like, oh, okay, so like all the Protestants and Catholics that maybe didn't agree on everything, they just consulted the Bible and everything was better, right?
And that's why Christians agree on everything, absolutely.
Because, I mean,
which is why there's so many different denominations, right?
Ireland wasn't a problem. Spanish Inquisition, totally not an issue. French Wars of Religion, just fine. That was cool. 30 Years' War, I mean, that was just a reasoned disagreement between the French and the British.
So are you telling me that when two Christians disagree, they don't necessarily just go to the Bible? They maybe kill each other instead? I don't know.
What do you think?
Well, anyway, so besides that being funny, he said when two Christians disagree, they can go to the Bible. When two Muslims disagree, they can go to the Quran. When two Jews disagree, they can go to the Torah. And I'm thinking, okay, do two people of the same faith only disagree? Like, they can't disagree with people of other faiths? Because then what do? You have two different books to go to. And also, it's kind of funny because if he's saying that, like, each one of these books holds the truth for that religion, and that that's okay for them to do, then he's saying that each one is essentially truth. But you can't have 3 different versions of that. So even in and of itself, if there were a God, that wouldn't make sense. So there were so many things wrong with that video. It was really funny, though.
The point, we did not evolve from soup. All right?
Yes, I've heard the soup argument.
Yeah, well, I mean, soup wasn't even invented until probably 100,000 years ago. I mean,
Hey, hold on. All right, you're just injecting your science. Like, it can go from chicken noodle to tomato to clam chowder to apes to humans. Like, that's not how it works.
Right, because one day a human fell out of a monkey's vagina.
Exactly.
That's how it happened, right?
yes, a
Am I
monkey,
wrong?
specifically.
Not a chimp, a monkey.
And the monkey was like, what is this shit? Where is it?
Well, if we came from apes, then why are them still here?
Because we have zoos? Duh.
I want a bumper sticker that says Proud
Zoos.
Ape.
Bitch, have you not seen a zoo?
Proud Ape. I want one of those. Proud Atheist Ape. That's
I'm an
one.
atheist.
All right, next question.
Let's do it.
After we spent that whole time on why do people believe in God. Okay, next one is what are your thoughts on the ontological argument? I mean, this is kind of a broad question, but
Thoughts? Well, first of all,
he's the greatest being ever, and therefore he exists.
no. Here's the problem. That's not an argument. Like that makes the word argument seem like something like childish and stupid. And it's not. An argument is a well-formed set of ideas that lead to a conclusion. The ontological argument is, it's true because I want it to be true. You can't make it different. Go away.
For the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God.
The fool hath said in his heart, I can't argument because I'm an idiot.
I can't argument. I can has argument. But yeah, that's something that a lot of people actually ask about. They like different various types of arguments and stuff. The next one is, what do you think about the cosmological argument?
Okay, I insert cosmological argument and re-say everything I just said. Move on. Oh, also lack of understanding science.
Right. Everything that has a beginning has a cause, and therefore the universe has a beginning, and therefore that causes God. Done.
Durr.
Can't beat that logic. Have you guys had people come up to you in debates and different things, like trying to legitimately use these things to benefit them?
Oh,
It
yeah.
confuses me. Like it just blows my mind. Like when people say these things that it doesn't like register that it's like totally illogical.
I did one time get a Christian to stop using Pascal's wager.
Oh, even that it's difficult.
No, it was actually really easy. Now this was just one person, but when they were talking to me, they used Pascal's wager, and I said, okay, I may disagree with you, but if you're going to try and convince anybody that your religion is true, you need to stop using that argument. And he said, well, why? And I said, okay, I'm an atheist, you're a Christian. Suppose a Muslim came up here and said, you should believe in Allah, and used Pascal's wager. Like, what if you're wrong? And he goes, oh.
What if you're wrong? What if I'm wrong?
He goes, oh, that doesn't make sense.
I understood that reference.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. What a great juju of the mountain.
I want to point out, Tom Jowers in the chat here just said, by the way, I donated $50 during the Skeptic Fence show. Happy to do my part. Just to remind everybody, not to be the serious one, but this is a fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders, and we are trying to make a difference here. So we're going to have fun. We're going to answer your questions, but please don't forget, we want you to donate to Doctors Without Borders. That's what we're doing this for. That's why everybody's here for this whole 24-hour thing. So that's our 30-second ad for that for right now.
Yeah, that's good. And keep doing that. If either one of you want to bring that up randomly, that's a good idea, because we don't want to forget what it's all about. You got to keep Christ in Christmas, you know? Don't forget the true meaning of why we're all here. Okay.
This is just commercialism to try and help people that are sick, like in other countries.
Yeah, we're so selfish. I know. It's like we just, right.
Come on. Like, wake up, people. Don't you know?
Up. Speaking of being selfish, and horrible, terrible people. The next question: why is being atheist considered a bad thing?
It's not considered a bad thing. Not by me.
I
mean, you mean like by...
I think they probably mean by, like, most people.
Can I answer this one?
In America.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
No, Dave. This is all about me and Jacqueline. Why are you even here?
Yeah.
Well, atheists are literally demonized by religious people
Wahaha, I get it.
because and there, I mean, there's different reasons, of course, but it's, I think, really deep down because they're scared of finding out that they're wrong. They're scared of what is going to happen when these people start learning that the stuff that they're being told is false. Religious belief requires isolation from real information. It requires that sort of indoctrination to really believe it. I think it was H.L. Mencken who said this originally, that if you really thought that your religion was true and that was actually supported by evidence, you wouldn't make such a big deal of forcing your children to believe it and of forcing them to go to Sunday school and teaching them this stuff directly. You would just stress that evidence leads to the right answer and encourage them to explore the evidence on their own and trust that it would bring them to your religion. And the fact that religious people don't do that shows that they don't actually believe that their beliefs are supported by the evidence that's out there. I think that's really important because atheists, despite what a lot of religious people say about us, and I mean it's a lie, we don't do this, but atheists do not indoctrinate their children into atheism. We teach them how to think, not what to think. We teach them that evidence leads to the best explanations of what's out there, and we teach them to go look and learn and decide for themselves. And if you do that, you start to find out that all religions are man-made. And that's a very scary message for religious children. And that's why they do that. That's why they demonize us. They tell us not to interact with them. They say don't talk to them, because they're worried about us revealing this to them. It's about hiding information. And we're not bad people. We are moral people. In fact, if you look at the statistics of it, on average, and this is just totally generalizing, but on average, atheists have fewer divorces per capita than religious people. We have fewer abortions. We have higher rates of education achieved. We have higher IQs and incomes. We have less teen pregnancy, less. Every single measurement of social welfare that you can think of is just better for atheists. Than we have less violent crime per capita. I mean, just the whole works. And I think it's because we think more about these things instead of just trying to follow rules and blaming and taking responsibility for when we do something wrong. And I think if more people understood that, they wouldn't dislike us so much. They wouldn't be so afraid to vote for us and so on. It's not true. And I just encourage people to actually learn about what atheists really like, actually meet some atheists, and find this out for yourself if you think that atheists are bad people.
And that's a really good point, because I feel like whenever I have these types of conversations with people and I give them those statistics on how, crime rates are lower and whatnot, all the things you just said, they honestly seem very genuinely surprised at that fact. Because I think it's because they really do think that you cannot have morality without religion. So how could you have a society that's working together better if you don't have God? So people are really surprised at that because they think atheism is just a way of escaping moral responsibilities when in fact it's not. And they think it's, have you heard it before? I'm sure you have, when people just say, oh, you're just an atheist because you want to go around and you want to sin and you don't want to have to face any consequences and you don't want to carry around that guilt. It's a total load of bullshit because it's not an easy decision. I remember whenever I was going through that process not very long ago, it was hard for me. It was like, it sucked. I've had to face alienation from my family and friends, and it was something that I kind of wanted. I wanted to be religious, but I couldn't, honestly. I mean, now I don't feel that way anymore because I've been away from it for long enough. But, that initial thing that you go through it's hard, and it's definitely not something that you want to have to happen. I literally could not force myself to believe a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah,
That's what it came down to.
I think the point that you brought up about, not wanting to I think it is actually harder on a moral accountability point of view to be an atheist because we can't ask for forgiveness from some magical entity and just get it.
Right.
If
you
you
have
hurt
to
somebody, right? If you hurt somebody, it is up to you to make that better, and that's more difficult because you can't always do that, and sometimes you have to live with the fact that you've hurt somebody, and you can't get forgiveness for it because they're not willing. or because you hurt them in such a way that that's not possible, or if it's not about a person, then whatever. The point is, it is more difficult morally to be an atheist because we aren't shoving off responsibility to somebody else, and I think religious people who put this on us and say that, like, you just don't want to be responsible. No, we are saying that we are responsible, unlike you who doesn't want to be responsible. And that's really, I think, a core misunderstanding about how religious people view moral responsibility and moral accountability and how atheists do.
Right, it's extremely hypocritical, and I get really frustrated when people tell me this, that you're just trying to look for an out to being accountable, because, like you just said, if you're religious, you can sin, you can do all these horrible things, but as long as you ask for forgiveness and you repent to Jesus, then your slate's wiped clean. But if you're an atheist, you don't have that. You have to live with yourself. You have to live with your actions. So don't try to tell me that I'm the one trying to get out of moral responsibility, because that seems like a pretty big part of Christianity.
Yeah.
I think not being religious actually it seems like it makes people more morally accountable.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I'm not going to repeat everything you guys said, but being more morally accountable means being able to live with being able to live with moral decisions yourself, being able to answer to yourself. That's the person you have to answer to, and whether people believe this or not, it's really hard to answer to. It's harder to answer to yourself than anyone else. Even though everyone's their own harshest critic,
yeah,
if you have to live with something like that, can really mess you up.
I think that's why a lot of people are religious, though, because they have these things in their past that they don't feel like they can live with. So if they can, like, mentally put that burden onto somebody else, it's helpful to them.
Yeah. Adam Savage actually, this was actually his Reason Rally speech, I think, said it really well. What you were talking about, Steph, the fact that there is somebody watching everything that an atheist does. It's not God, it's the atheist. I watch everything that I do, and if I want to sleep at night, I have sleep problems, but that's another issue. But if I want to feel comfortable in who I am and honest and when I'm dying someday, and if I want to look back on my life and feel like I've been a good person and I've done right by people, I have to know that I lived an ethical life, and that I have to have justifications for my moral decisions that I'm happy with, and that's something that's very important to me and very valuable to me personally. And a lot of atheists feel this way, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's because a lot of atheists, in their exploration of atheism, get into philosophy and ethics. They start learning about this stuff and all of the huge history of ethics as a subfield of philosophy, and they start understanding the real value of that. And it's not as simple and silly as God will forgive me, or if I say a bunch of Hail Marys, or if I just ask with a sincere heart. That's bullshit. If you hurt people, there are consequences, and you shouldn't hurt people because of that in the first place. And as you grow to understand that,
not because of God,
right?
Not because of being afraid to go to hell.
Right, because hurting people hurts people. And it's not circular to say that it is wrong because it causes unnecessary suffering, and it's your fault if you're the one doing it. And as an atheist, I can't live with that, and that's why I do it. That's why I'm moral, because I care. It's not a bad thing to do that, to say that, and to think that way. I also want to just point out in the chat, somebody just said, because we had mentioned Jowers earlier, he said, "Get on my level, Jowers. I gave $200. This is from Time Wolf.
Oh.
So yeah, again, this is a fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders. If you're enjoying this, please remember, we want you to give Doctors Without Borders. It's a great cause, and that's why we're doing this.
If you don't donate, all the puppies and all the kittens in the world are going to suffer. Come on.
All the humans are suffering. I mean, they're the.
No, humans don't matter. What's wrong?
Yeah, that's right.
We're atheists. We don't care about humans. We eat babies
about anything.
For Christ's sake, we eat babies. Do you not understand that? God. Jesus.
Okay, so since we're on the topic of morality, Stephanie.
Right in the Bible. What's up?
I'm gonna go to this next question because I think it's kind of relative to what we were talking about.
Is it the one I sent you?
Relative? No, not yet. I'll get to that one. Do you believe in relative or objective morality?
Ooh, can I start this one?
Please.
Go for it.
Yay. Okay. Morality is to me, morality is mostly objective, but it's weird. Okay, there are things that you can be objective about, but it's going to be situational. Yeah, most of the time, murder is wrong unless you're being attacked,
So
etc.
then relative.
No, because relativism is a different thing altogether, and that has to do with an entire culture, and that's no.
Well, don't you think that as part of it? I mean, if you lived in a different culture, certain
No.
things that seem obvious to you now would be different.
That's no, okay. So like, there was a great video by Theremin Trees which like goes into this a little bit, and it might have been Qualia Soup. Either way, no, it was Qualia Soup. It was Qualia Soup, and he does this. He has this great video series about morality, and in part of it, he's saying that things that are morality has a lot to do with education. Because if you're educated about certain things, then it's within the scope of your awareness. Things that are outside the scope of your awareness, you can't be held morally accountable about. So the more educated you are about things in the world, the more likely you are to make more moral decisions.
I think that's fair to say. I think, is it okay if I jump in and...
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, okay.
You're not even in this hangout.
I think part of the reason that people get confused about this is because they kind of equivocate a couple different ideas. So when we're talking about objective morality versus subjective morality, we're talking about a relative morality, is another way to put it. Relative and subjective are not quite the same thing. So subjective means that it depends on the person making the call, and relative means that you're relating to different things and qualifying one as more moral than the other. So those are separate concepts. When you're talking about objective morality, you're talking about some kind of it exists out there in the universe separate from any person. So not that would be opposed to subjective, not opposed to relative. When you're talking about two actions, you can compare them and say this action is more relative than this other one. And you can say that subjectively and say, I think so. Or you can say that objectively, regardless of what any person has to say, this one is more moral than this one. And I think that relative aspect of it is objective. I don't think it depends on the person, because you can measure suffering. You can do this by looking at brain chemicals and other things. It is objectively less moral to kill a person than it is to kill a clam. I don't think that's anything that we need to argue about. That's just true in nature. We're talking about the definition of what moral action is, and so on. But I also want to point out there's more than one way to be moral about a given situation. When people are talking about, is this culture more moral than this other cultural approach? It's not either or like that. There's Sam Harris. I mean, this is the point of his book in the Moral Landscape. This is his thesis: is that there's more than one approach to what a moral society looks like, and because we can, with science, objectively measure suffering, there's a way to look at this and actually say people are being hurt, animals are being hurt, and so on, more in this series of events than in this other series of events, and then we can declare one is worse than the other. I think it's kind of a useless question to ask if morals are objective or relative, because whether a God exists or not, we can say that something is more or less moral of an action to take than something else. And if we can agree on this as a species, then we can make better decisions about public policy and better decisions about how to interact with other people in our lives, and better decisions about how we should act day to day, just as on ourselves when no one else is watching. And I don't agree with that idea that religion is what keeps the poor from murdering the rich. I think a proper understanding of ethics and a proper understanding of, I mean, that might be true in certain societies and certain times in history for specific people, but if people, like you were saying, Steph, if people are educated about ethics, there is an intrinsic property of morality that is important in getting along in society, just in a sense of people living together and being prosperous together and accomplishing things that calls upon us to be moral without any kind of supernatural anything involved. We are more successful as a species in accomplishing our goals of living long, healthy lives and producing art and philosophy and having economic prosperity and so on when we treat each other better, when we trade with each other instead of killing each other. And I think that's totally separate from religion. You don't need religion to do that. In fact, it can be distracting toward that because you have people arguing about things without taking evidence into account.
Actually, I didn't even get to read the whole thing. That was the first half of it. But the second part of the question was, as an atheist, why do you reject moral nihilism? So, I mean, you kind of talked about it. But
yeah, I mean, because morals exist in the world. When you have living things that are capable of experiencing suffering, then morality comes into play. It's
yeah,
not.
I get tons of comments on my videos and stuff, people saying there is no such thing as morality, which is just kind of asinine, if you ask me.
No, that's just false. I mean, that's demonstrably false. When you have multiple conscious entities interacting, morality evolutionarily develops, especially when you're looking at
this is true. And speaking of evolution,
yes, I like where this is going.
Oh, you're cutting out. Okay, speaking of evolution, someone tweeted, "Why do you think people still deny evolution as a scientific fact?"
Oh, this one's fun.
Can I give a really quick answer?
I mean, there's like so many different answers to this, but I think like one of the biggest reasons, and the reason why I say this is because I was actually having a conversation with one of my family members about this, and she was saying that evolution just can't be so because God put Adam and Eve as the first people in the Garden of Eden, and if what you say about evolution is true, then that kind of, gets rid of God putting people on Earth as people. And if we weren't put into the Garden of Eden, if that story is false, then there was no original sin. And if there was no original sin, then there might not be a need for a savior, and then Christianity just kind of crumbles from there. So there's a lot of different reasons why people deny evolution. I think, honestly, that's one reason, and I think another reason is they just can't comprehend the amount of time required to make small changes, and it's just something that goes over their heads. I mean, it's hard for some people to comprehend 1,000 years, much less more than that. So I don't know. It's hard for people to just like have it make sense in their own mind. And for some reason, fairy tales and religion is able to make sense to them more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how the idea of two people having two sons and then all of a sudden creating everyone else, including people that aren't just magically happen to be there. If you've ever read the storybook, person who was talking to Jacqueline about this, you realize that not only did she only have two sons, which means guess who's,
incest.
We're having brother children, fun stuff. Not only that, there's like just people existed outside of Eden apparently like for a while because what's his face meets someone from another village, and that's never mentioned ever how those other people get there. So yeah, if you want to believe the book, it's fine, but you talk about evolution having holes. At least ours are fossils.
This is true.
Yeah, the whole thing is pretty silly, but I think Jacqueline really just nailed it. It's just that most educated religious people, first of all, virtually everybody educated around the world, this is really a unique problem to the United States, doesn't deny evolution. It's the Catholic Church officially accepts evolution as a fact. This is not something that's anti-Christian necessarily. I agree with Jacqueline in what she was saying as far as if evolution is true, then Christianity cannot be true. But I think it really just boils down to people saying that if I believe evolution, what that is saying is that my religious book is wrong about something. And once you open that door, that's a scary door to a lot of people because it means that you have to stop believing some of the things that you think are true and what else is not true in there.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's really...
a lot of people like to break it in half, and they say, oh, there's like microevolution and macroevolution, and we believe in microevolution, but like on a larger scale from like, you know, they just...
Species to... Yeah, I just got a call yesterday from somebody who wanted to talk about that. Just, he looked us up on the internet and wanted to ask an atheist, and so he called me. But there's no such thing, just to clear this up, if anybody's watching and has questions about it, there is no such thing as a difference between micro and macroevolution.
Thank you.
Those are made-up terms by creationists who do not understand what evolution is. I have never, I've been doing this a long time. I have never met a young Earth creationist who can define evolution the way a scientist defines evolution. They make up their own definition as a straw man, because if they understood what it was, they would say, well, obviously this is happening because there's proof of it. We see it happening. I don't deny that that happens. It's just I mean,
that's a good point. I mean, like whenever I'm talking to these people, you know, they'll accept the example of the salamander in California. You know, they'll accept Darwin's finches. But whenever you talk
they'll accept viruses changing from year to year.
Right,
you know?
but whenever we talk about, you know, us having a common ancestor with apes, or that we are apes and we have common ancestors with other things, you know, they just no, they can't accept that. That's not evolution. That's a different kind of evolution that I don't accept. But the other evolution that we have evidence that I can't really deny for, I'll accept that half of it, but the rest is nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you get into the Ken Ham's idea of historical evidence, versus observable evidence. Bullshit. And if you really want to bring that up, like just quickly, if you are demanding observable evidence in order to say that something is true, first of all, there's overwhelming observable evidence for evolution, macroevolution. Second of all, if that's your standard, the whole Bible doesn't work anymore. The whole Adam and Eve story, the whole Jesus, none of that is observable evidence because it's all in the past. So forget that argument. It's just hurting your case.
But God says it's true, so therefore it's true.
You know, the Bible says God exists, so I'm pretty convinced already.
Yikes.
How could you argue with that? Okay, let's see. Let me find another. Okay. Why do you hate God?
He's an asshole. Move on.
Are we talking? Okay, really quickly though. In all seriousness, the character of God is despicable.
I said that in my last video. I'm like, if God existed as the Bible described him, then he would be kind of an asshole. Like, you know, the babies that he murdered,
I think. I mean,
all the people that he drowned, and slavery that he condoned, and you know, plagues.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who thinks that there's any good reason to kill the firstborn child of everybody in an entire city, or with Sodom and Gomorrah to kill everybody in an entire city by raining sulfur.
He needed to learn them a lesson.
Yeah, that you don't teach lessons to people by killing people. That is how genocidal dictators teach lessons.
So I've been doing it wrong?
No, Jacqueline.
Oops. My bad.
The character of God in the Bible, he's a fictional character, but he's terrible, he's evil, and if he were real, I would hate him the same way that if I were alive at the time, would have hated Hitler. Sure. I don't hate God. No atheist hates God because atheists don't believe in God.
I hate God as much as I hate villains in movies, like, you know?
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
But for me,
and they make the story interesting. I mean,
right? Yeah.
You know.
Why do I need to see that movie? I still haven't seen God's Not Dead. I really need to see that movie. Why?
There's an excellent review.
Yes.
Listen, you can get the same effect if you just take a brick and smash it against your head.
No, in all seriousness, there's a wonderful review on the Death and Taxes Mag website, and I normally wouldn't plug something like this that I've never heard of before and haven't researched, but I don't know what this website is, but if you go to deathandtaxesmag.com or you just Google it, it's called Holy Crap, I Watched God's Not Dead So You Don't Have To. It is the funniest review I've ever read of anything. It's hilarious. You should check it out.
God's not dead. He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. Okay, I'm done.
All right, Jacqueline, we can watch all
Somebody needs to make a gif of that.
I'm done. I'm pretty sure I've already done that in videos, but
Yeah,
I did a video on God's Not Dead, but I still haven't watched it. That was on the trailer.
Real quick, as we've been talking about, this is a fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders, so make sure you go to donate.doctorswithoutborders.org and make a donation so we can help out those people that are suffering around the world.
Because we have no morals, we're trying to do the right thing here, so if you could just donate, that'd be great.
Thank you.
No morals. All right, let's see. Let's find another question. Okay, here. Do you have churchy friends who you don't even try to argue with, since you see they will probably not be able to handle it?
No, I don't hold back on anyone. Next person.
I don't have people that I don't talk to about it. I have family members who we agree not to bring it up, but not explicitly like agree we're not going to talk about it. It doesn't come up.
Right.
If they ask me about it, then I talk about it, and if I ask them about it, then they talk about it. I would never, just as a point of personal policy, put something off the table for discussion with somebody. Atheism is something I care a lot about, not just because of the advocacy side of it, but because of the truth of it. And if somebody, as a condition of friendship with me, said, I don't want to discuss this, I would say then you care you care less about what's true than peace, and that's not. I don't work with that.
I've done that with family. I've put it off the table. And I hate doing that because I normally like having discussions and stuff, but there are certain people that I've just gone down this road with, and it just ends so terribly every single time. It ends in tears. It ends in, periods of time without communication, and it's just ruins relationships and stuff. So there are certain people in my family, at least, that it's off the table. If they try to talk to me about it, like I've tried before. It's not like I haven't attempted conversations with them, but it's just now if they try or they bring it up, I'm just like, nope, we're not talking about this because I know how it's going to end, and I'm not dealing with it anymore. They know where I stand. They watch my videos, so it's not like they have confusion as to what my positions are on things. So it's just kind of like one of those things where they know what I'm going to say, I know what they're going to say, and I know how it's going to end, so I'm not talking about it.
Jacqueline, I know you're a Christian, so...
Well, deep down, everybody's a Christian. I mean, Paul says that,
Not me, I'm a Muslim.
Testifies to the truth of God, and we are without excuse, right?
Right. Everyone deep down actually believes. I hear that a lot. Not only from people that I know that I'm related to, but just like online and stuff, and people in comments, they say, well, deep down, I think that you really are a Christian, and, you'll realize it one day.
Well, Jacqueline, see, I know what you do is you believe in God when you need to make moral decisions, and then you quit believing. I keep referencing that video because it is so fucking funny.
That sounds a lot like my last video there, Steph.
Look, I just watched it, and it has to be one of the dumbest videos you ever responded to.
I know, and I think it's so funny. I think it's hilarious. A lot of people comment, and they say things like low-hanging fruit or whatever, but I think people like that, I think it's important to bring a sense of comedy to this because it's always so serious and always, angry face, and the conversation gets dry. I think it's funny. Sometimes it's good to sit back and laugh at the ridiculousness that's out there in the world, and I like to bring it up. So
as far as terrible arguments go, and I'm being completely serious, as far as terrible arguments go, some of that stuff was fairly original in how it was phrased. I've never heard something quite that
really.
Yeah, seriously, I've never heard it phrased quite like that.
What was he trying to say? He was trying to say that, as an atheist, anytime you ever make a choice on something, you have to decide whether or not this action is right or wrong, you have to, hop back into being a theist for a little while and then ask God about it, and once he gives you the answer, and then once he gives you the answer, you can go back to being an atheist. So he's like, why do atheists do this? Because anytime they make a choice, they have to be religious for a little bit, and then they decide, and then they go back to being. It's like, yeah. And then I think I made the joke where I was like, yep, I'm just going to be driving down the street, and there's going to be a pedestrian walking down, and I'm going to be like, should I run them over, or should I wait for them to pass? I don't know. Dear God, what should I do in this situation? Oh, I shouldn't run them over. Okay, well, back to being an atheist. Ta-da!
Ta-da.
That's exactly how he thinks.
I just want to jump in for 1 second here. Somebody on the chat said, sorry, I just started watching, but what is MSFDWB? So this is a fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders. That's why we're doing this whole 24-hour marathon telethon fundraiser. So Doctors Without Borders is a wonderful worldwide organization that sends trained medical personnel to places that don't have people who are capable of doing procedures that need to be done there, everything from routine exams all the way up to surgeries. And it's a nonprofit, and it's a great cause, and they do this without regard for religion or nationality, obviously, but all sorts of other things, and it's something that we greatly support. We want you to support it with your money. Please give money to them. You can go to, I think it's donate.doctorswithoutborders.org. Is that right, Steph?
I just put it in my lower third. It's right
okay,
there.
It is, yeah. Donate.doctorswithoutborders.org. Please donate money to them. It's a worthy cause. They need it, and we're hoping to raise a lot of money during this whole thing.
To answer one part of the question, they were asking what the what the other initials are. The other initials
MSF.
are the French. Is the French translation of it, because it's I'm pretty sure they're probably they think they have a branch in France that's a pretty major.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of countries in Africa that have France as their most well-known Western language. So that's like the other headquarters of Doctors Without Borders.
So just so the person wasn't confused that we weren't raising money for two different organizations.
Right. Yeah, it's the same word. Yep.
Just to make sure. Okay.
Okay. So I'm getting some interesting questions. I'm getting some interesting questions on homosexuality. I got two right in a row that are pretty interesting, so I'm just going to read them and we can react. The first person said, why would theists look at homosexuality as a sin? Homosexuality is in nearly every species. It's completely natural. I agree with what they said. It's in every species and natural, so I don't know why theists.
Lead is natural, so is poison ivy. Let's not use the natural argument. Natural argument is horrible. I don't stop with the natural argument. I know your heart's in the right place, whoever asked this, but that's a horrible... Your heart being in the right place does not make using bad arguments a good thing. Homosexuality doesn't need to be natural for it to be okay. It doesn't hurt anyone if it's too...
Well, honestly, I hate this whole natural argument, because technically everything is natural. What is not natural? If it occurs in nature anywhere, it's natural. So stop using that.
But yeah, no, look, the reason homosexuality is viewed as bad by a religion is because if your entire religion is based on indoctrinating children, and before in vitro fertilization, around the time these books were written, the only way they knew how to procreate was straight sex, and if it wasn't straight sex, then you weren't having kids. If you weren't having kids, you weren't perpetuating the religion. If you weren't perpetuating the religion, your kids weren't being saved and or whatever by God. That is primarily the reason it's prohibited in the Bible, I think, pretty sure, or at least a major motivating factor, and that underlies why most people believe in it now.
Yeah, I think it's not just religion generally. It's specifically this Judeo-Christian background of Muslims, Jews, Mormons, Christians, and so on. Judaism actually is a lot better about it than some of the others. Mormons obviously have huge problems with gay marriage and stuff, and evangelicals and so on. But anyway, the point is, whether it's natural or not, whether you're born that way or whether it's a choice, which is a better way of putting it, because that's really what we're talking about, is completely irrelevant to how moral it is and how okay it is as a way to be and a way to live and as a practice and whatever you want to say. The Bible actually doesn't say anything at all about this, whether it's natural or not. It doesn't care. It just says that having gay sex is an abomination. It doesn't address where that idea came from.
And so is cutting your hair, and so is wearing two cloths that are the same.
Right. If you're gonna, it's silly. This whole thing is silly. It doesn't matter what the Bible says, because the Bible's wrong on a million different things, and it's also not legally binding, and it's also not morally binding. And it doesn't matter what any religion says, because religions are wrong. There's nothing wrong with being gay, and whether it's a choice or not, I'm not even going to dignify that. It doesn't matter because there's nothing wrong with it. There's an interesting new book coming out, and I'm going to put a plug in for this. It's called Strange Flesh by Steve Wells. Steve Wells is the guy who wrote the Skeptic's Annotated Bible. And actually, just as disclosure, I wrote the afterword for this book. It's not out yet, but it is available on Amazon today, actually, I think, as an ebook. But anyway, Strange Flesh is the name of the book, and what this does is it goes through all the verses in the Bible that talk about homosexuality and explains basically where this is all coming from and where all this hate is coming from and why all this stuff is bullshit. So if you're interested in that topic, I would check that out. It talks a lot about how religion played into this idea, but I do want to point out this is just Judeo-Christian religion that has this idea. There are many pagan religions that have no problem in even celebrating, have rituals associated with homosexuality. This is one idea within one religion, and it's not special because it's Christianity or Judeo-Christianity. It has this idea.
Yes. Speaking of different cultures and whatnot, the next person who asked a question about this kind of brought up something similar. They said, do you think, or do you believe that there is a gay gene, that homosexuality is a choice, or that it's influenced by environmental factors in the culture? So that's an interesting question.
There's no...
I absolutely don't think it's a choice. I mean, I don't know anybody who is straight who, accidentally had sex with somebody of the same sex. Like, that doesn't happen. I don't know anybody who's gay who accidentally has sex with somebody that's straight. I don't know, unless people are bisexual, but that's a totally different thing. But to say that it's a choice is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm not attracted to women, and nothing could make me attracted to women. That's not a choice. That's just me. That's who I am. But what people have a hard time understanding is that there's, like, a range. There's a spectrum. And people want to make it black and white. They want to say, oh, you're either straight or you're gay or you're a man or you're a woman, but they don't understand that there's this spectrum out there and that you can't just pinpoint something. Like, not everything is black and white. People just can't comprehend that.
What we know about sexuality, there may not be a gene for it, but we do know that sexuality is it's determined, and it's determined within certain formative years of your life. That's where I'll leave that.
Next question. I mean, I have a lot on these, but I'll just skip over them because we kind of already covered them.
Yeah. Brand new. New topic.
How should I deal with people misunderstanding my atheism or saying that I will return to religion eventually?
Oh, I'm going to leave this one Dave. You'll have to answer.
I mean, I get this all the time.
Yeah.
You're just going through a phase. One day you'll snap out of it and be righteous.
It's not a phase. It's that simple. Once you understand the logical arguments and the lack of evidence, the only thing that's going to change your mind is a change in the evidence that's available to you. It's just that simple. And I think if people don't want to accept that, that says more about them than it does about you. And I wouldn't worry about it. I would just say, well, you are wrong, rather, and you'll find out in 20 years or 50 years when I'm still an atheist. So don't worry about it.
Okay, so I have someone here who wants me to keep their identity a secret, but I haven't been telling anybody who's commenting. But they say that they're 14 and an atheist and are unsure as to whether or not they should come out to their family, who may or may not be accepting.
All right.
Sorry, before we change the subject, I got an IM from somebody who I'm not going to say who it is. This pisses me off a lot. A second ago, when Jacqueline said that she was not homosexual and that nothing could make her like women, somebody IM'd me to say that he's really disappointed to hear you say that. Guys, that's not cool. That's bullshit. Okay, just not cool. Sorry.
Perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, I get stuff like that all the time, so I don't take offense. But, like, it's just, like, something that a lot of people will say. Like, it's that's just people. People are inappropriate. And, I mean, the comments that I get on my videos are ridiculous. So, moving on, let's not feed the trolls. Let's help this 14-year-old kid out who is unsure of what to do.
So, listen, hun, whoever you happen to be, the hard thing is you may not be able to come out until you're financially able. If you're dependent on your family, it's going to suck for a while. I realize that, but you're going to have to, I mean, you're going to have to hold it in, for lack of a better term, until you can support yourself. If you are...
You absolutely do not want to end up on the streets or something like that, you know? I mean, you can feel it out. Everybody's situation is different, though. And, you know, you don't want to put your family into this box of unaccepting people, because you never know, they might be totally fine with it. So what I would do is I would feel it out. I would try to have like conversations that are related to religion without, you know, explicitly saying, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God. Like, you can be like, I'm questioning things, I'm unsure of how I feel. You know, what about this in the Bible? What about that? Like, you can ask questions and maybe try to generate a discussion without, you know, coming on too strong immediately and saying, hey, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in this, it's all bullshit, you guys are idiots. Like, you know, there's a way to go about it, and if you feel like you can, you know, have this conversation with them and they're open to it, maybe you can take it to the next level and see how they'll react. But if they're totally like super conservative, super religious, and they're getting mad at you, and you feel like your future may be in jeopardy because of it, then I would listen to what Stephanie was saying and hold it in until you're able to, you know, be financially independent.
I can't stress this enough for you. You cannot put your life in jeopardy over this. Like, it's honestly, like, as much as we're all very active and very open atheists, it is not worth it. Okay, it's just not. It's, I know it might be like a big part of who you are and etc. and all those things, but this isn't worth putting things in like your life in jeopardy over. I just can't stress that enough.
I mean, even if you're about ready to head to college, I've heard of people having their funds pulled because of this type of thing. So you have to be very careful. It's not worth it.
And listen, I'm here, Jacqueline's here, Dave's here, the Richard Dawkins Foundation is here, American Atheist is here for you. Like, reach out to us. Our contact, like, you can reach us on Twitter. My contact info is on the Richard Dawkins website. Like, if you need to reach out to people, please do. Like, we're here for you. There's also Recovering from Religion. They can help you out. Like, seek out resources if you can, in secret if you have to. We'll keep your information anonymous, and, you know, just reach out to us. We've got resources for you.
Yeah, I also want to point out some other good resources are the Secular Student Alliance, which is specifically designed to help students who are atheists, and they have a lot of experience with students who have religious families. Another good online resource that helps you stay anonymous and learn more about atheism and explore more questions about atheism is Reddit. The subreddit for atheism is just reddit.com/r/atheism. There's a bunch of good reading and a bunch of people on there that are in your same situation. But yeah, I agree with what Steph and Jacqueline were saying. This is important in being intellectually honest and in being authentic as far as who you are, but you have your whole life to do that, and I know it seems important now, and it is, but it can wait. There's no reason to jeopardize the safety and having a shelter and so on now for that sake. You can wait until you're done with college. I do want to point out, I like what Jacqueline was saying about John Corvino talks about this idea of dropping bobby pins to see how people react. He's talking about approaching the subject of being gay, but it's the same idea. You can bring up things like evolution and so on just to kind of feel them out. You might be surprised. I get a lot of letters and emails and phone calls from people who say, you know, I was afraid to come out because my family's super religious, and I finally did. You know, when I was 30, and my dad told me, oh, I didn't want to say anything because your mother's really religious, but I've been an atheist since I was 10. And it's like, why didn't you tell me that when I was 10? You know, but you might be surprised. So feel them out, but don't feel like you have to make some big showy announcement and possibly ruin things or some you know, some kind of coming out talk to them. You can feel them out, and if it doesn't look like it's going well, wait.
Yeah.
I totally agree on that. I mean, it's definitely a hard situation, and that's something that I get a lot of questions on because it's something that I went through. Is people want to know, how do I come out, or when should I come out, or should I not? I always try to lean towards saying yes, but if you're young and you're in a vulnerable situation, it might be best to wait for a little bit. But I think that we are approaching the end of this. So before we go, I want to, again, make sure to tell everyone to check out Doctors Without Borders and donate. That's what this whole thing is all about. We're trying to raise money and help people out there who do not have access to medical care. We have these doctors that are going out of their way to help them, and it's a really great cause. And atheists or not, morals or not, make sure to go and click the link and donate. So hopefully this does well and they raise a lot of money and stuff.
Remember this, donate.doctorswithoutborders.org.
I wanted to plug you guys. You guys have channels and stuff. Stephanie, you have a channel?
Yeah, my channel, I'm going to put it in my lower third. It's Think Skeptically. Yeah. I haven't done videos in a couple weeks, but I'm going to be starting again this weekend, or probably next weekend. I cover a lot of skeptic topics and go after woo and pseudoscience and all sorts of magical things.
Yep. And Dave, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Moscato. I'm also on Twitter. I tweet a lot at Dave Moscato. And again, I'm the Public Relations Director for American Atheists. We just launched Atheist TV. If you haven't checked that out, I highly encourage you to do that. Atheists.tv is the website for that. 24 hours a day of atheist-friendly television. And it's also available on Roku, the world's only TV station, TV channel dedicated to atheist content. So yeah, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, and thank you very much for having me as part of this Magic Sandwich Show, DPR Jones, Jacqueline, and Steph.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm really glad to be part of raising money for Doctors Without Borders. My parents are doctors, and this is a cause that I care a lot about. So I'm really happy that we're doing this.
So one last plug. This kind of relates to the last question we just answered. Richard Dawkins Foundation, along with Secular Student Alliance and Secular Coalition for America and the Stifle Foundation, along with other partners such as American Atheists, are going to be launching our Openly Secular campaign to help eliminate discrimination for atheists. If you want to find out more about that, you can go to openlysecular.org. My box down there. You can learn more about it. We should be launching it fairly soon. We just got these really cool, you probably won't be able to see it, we got these really cool wristbands and say, I am openly secular. Probably can't see it now, but we just got these, and we have some other cool stuff coming out. So hopefully you can check that out and support it.
Awesome. Yay, and you guys know me, so go to my channel and subscribe. That's it.
Well, can I thank you all very much for participating and giving support to this wonderful cause and wonderful charity.